Let me ask you a question. For what reason would an agency like Hololive, who started up as an originally idol-themed VTuber agency, decide to make a branch for male VTubers but not appeal to the usual demographic that male idols appeal to, that being the female equivalent of an idol fan? And why would they not brand them as such? How and why did Nijisanji, a general and variety content themed VTuber agency, appeal to the female demographic first before Hololive did? Or at least their EN branch? See, for the longest time, Hololive has sold itself as a female-centered agency that primarily caters to male idol fans. It's a niche and a unique spin of the VTuber formula that was fresh at the time. And while they did find their relative success, Yago decided to want a male branch of their VTuber agency named Holostars. But first, let me recount the history of the branch. Holostars was originally Motowagi Tanigo's personal project, and when they first launched, it probably did not feel the best when they were utterly rejected by the community. The first Holostars members were absolutely terrified to debut. To say that they faced opposition was an understatement. A lot of Hololive fans were concerned about their presence. Concerned is probably also an understatement. Some of them were downright against it. Though for the most part, they were placated by the fact that Holostars was entirely separated from the branch. They were segregated, and that meant the chances of them interacting or bothering in the affairs of the Hololive girls were quite low. A sentiment that actually carried over to the EN side of things. In any case, this opposition nearly made the boys give up, if not for their manager at the time Shinove and Yago himself personally seeing to their mental health and abilities, playing games with them on stream, pep talking. The Holostars boys are quite loyal to the CEO, and that's for good reason. He was very much hands-on until he eventually had to stop being the branch's general manager to focus more on the company as a whole. Though that's not necessarily enough, because for a long time, Holostars was isolated and not well known among Hololive fans. It led to the feeling that they were not supported, despite the CEO personally taking care of them and supporting them behind the scenes, and even publicly by people like Fubuki. But even with Fubuki's support, most of the girls didn't even know or downright refused to acknowledge them publicly in fear of the fan backlash. They were an idol-centric agency after all, and even if interacting with males was not exactly a hard-drawn rule, it was still culturally enforced. Fast forward to now, and this still is pretty much true. While we have seen some good improvements to the quality and growth of Holostars, and that the community in general, outside Hololive even, is now aware of the brand, this sentiment of segregation is still there. The bleating of the people who hold this sentiment are quite loud. Many of the Stars members have spoken out about how they are even afraid of the fanbase at times and get worried about potential yabs with certain members. It's actually something that a lot of them share, especially with certain members that the unicorns and gachis are attracted to. All of this leads to the boys feeling not so welcome in a workplace that should be welcoming. That, despite being accepted into Hololive, there's a feeling that they aren't really part of Hololive. See, Nijisanji's co-ed approach has fostered this feeling that the people in the agency are whole. It feels natural that they are able to collab easily like this and be open about it. But in Hololive, even in the EN branch, with the sole exception of Hololive Indonesia, because oddly enough, it's the Southeast Asians that aren't as volatile as the others, this feeling of the members naturally mixing doesn't feel so natural. In fact, the original Holostars JP branch felt like they were honorary indies and Nijisanji members more so than Hololive members. The branding and the culture they've cultivated makes it feel that they are two separate agencies collabing with each other if it happens. That is my personal feeling, but it's still odd to me why I feel that way. Why I feel that Holo-EN feels fragmented, even without Holostars. Hell, Holostars makes that fragmentation feeling a lot more evident. And again, the reason why this separation is there is due to the fanbase. But let's talk about this further. Why is the fanbase uptight about keeping them segregated? Well, if you've been in the industry for longer than a month, you'd probably realize that Hololive is much more parasocial heavy than other VTuber agencies out there. It is a company that had female idol branding as its crux. And this branding is the reason. In idol culture, the girls, and the boys, because it's not a culture exclusive to any sex, gender, or location, the idol has to be parasocial to the fanbase. Give the impression that they are unavailable for whatever reason or isn't looking for a relationship right now. Sometimes they even have to lie that they are single or that they are gay because for some reason that's entirely acceptable. Sometimes they have to be quiet. It's just the nature of showbiz, and you put males into the mix or females if the idol group is male-centric, then problems start coming up. And here's the thing, despite many people thinking that unicorns are a monolith and that all collectively hate the men just for the sole fact that they are a threat to their most likely non-virgin idols, I have discovered that most people actually do not mind the Holostars members, but they want them to be kept in their own lane, to not be included in the Hololive stuff. Not to say, of course, that those unicorns that do get jealous exists, just that most people are neutral. They just avoid the boys and don't really care because that's not what they're in Hololive for, even if many people scream at them that they're missing out in banger content. Different strokes for different blokes, essentially. People consume VTubing in different ways. But I think the reason why people get upset at the inclusion of male VTubers is more so because it changes the relationship dynamics between the VTubers and the agency itself. It challenges the status quo, telling them that there will be changes they may not like. It's an instinctual and very human reaction, if I have to be honest. It's the fear of change. Especially since all of these changes were made in a year. When we know that this certain comfort or familiarity may no longer feel so comforting or familiar in the future, it triggers an almost hostile reaction to prevent that from happening. In a way, I get that feeling. Holostars and Hololive being marketed equally and much more involved with each other brings about endless possibilities for content and interactions. But endless possibilities aren't all just fun and sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes, endless possibilities also entail drama and yabs and suffering. But on the plus side, the segregation has, in a very roundabout way, actually helped the Holostars culture. This feeling of separation with Holostars and Hololive, while seeming at first that it may be a bad thing, may not entirely be so bad. Of course, the entire Hololive brand right now is trying to unify the two branches and marketing them together, making it so that the Stars members are also part of the marketing of Hololive unlike prior years, but those years and months of separation has garnered a unique environment of its own, a culture exclusive to Holostars. The struggles of starting and remaining small is that change poses little danger to you. A small ship is much more maneuverable, after all. It is only upwards from here on out. The boys have their own inside jokes, develop their own memes. Holostars is different. Even beyond the sex and the gender, beyond the branding and the memes, fundamentally, Holostars is not Hololive. Holostars is Holostars. They are unique, a separate community within the same brand and agency. And I think at the end of the day, that's what Yago wanted. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it was an accident that he didn't intend for this to happen. But it still seems good for the long term. If you've paid attention for the finances and the reports and the politics and the interviews around VTuber agencies, and please, I highly suggest you do so if you're interested in learning more about how companies work. There are interesting facts in there that may or may not surprise you. Like the fact that many people think Hololive makes more money than Nijisanji or VShoujo, when in reality, Nijisanji was always more profitable, even during Hololive's golden era. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to listen to Hololive's long-term goals in the future. CoverCorp has stated that they have the intention of being an IP holder company more so than a VTuber company. They want to be like Disney, someone who owns really valuable IPs and is able to use them to create many medias like video games, shows, merchandising, and manga. Hell, even potentially let other studios use them with certain conditions. A VTuber equivalent of Sanrio, of Shonen Jump, of CD Projekt Red, of Disney. They want to branch out far beyond VTubing, and they've already even started that endeavor. They want to go beyond just VTubing. And with this in mind, it only makes sense that Holostars has been pushed by CoverCorp more fiercely than ever, that their segregation had some long-term benefits. Hololive fans won't have to cannibalize on each other with Holostars fans. They appeal to different fan bases and demographics. They can appeal to as many markets as they can. It's a plan that has long-term benefits with some short-term pains. They can't just pigeonhole themselves into majorly catering to the male fan bases. They can't just focus on VTubers. They have to think further. And with all that information in mind, does it not make sense that they should and is promoting Holostars in the same way they are now? Ignoring one's personal biases and feelings of the matter, I think this is the best way to go forward. Maybe a few details and small things that could have been tweaked, but the major strokes seem optimal. All in all, it's a vision that I can genuinely believe in. It makes me confident, makes me feel proud that despite my frequent ventures outside the Hololive community, that although I am developing and keep developing a liking towards certain indie communities, small corpos, Twitch VTubers, and a few Nijisanji members, Hololive is the place I can always go back to and call home. I may not always like their decision, I've shat on them more than enough in the past, my overall opinion of the agency is still quite positive. Until the next yab, of course. Like, if Picora graduates, I will literally be inconsolably upset. I will literally drop. In any case, that's really all I had to say for this long overdue review of Holostars' current state. If you liked what you saw, do leave a like. Any disagreements, feel free to discuss. Any additional comments or thoughts, I'd be happy to read about them. So yes, I'll see you all in the next video. I'm out, Ski.